This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Hello and welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, where we talk the latest and greatest news in the world of sports. As always, I am Alex, here to discuss sports and sports things and everything in the world of sports that is relevant to me today. We're talking the Monday Night Football game between the Houston Texans and the Oakland Raiders from last night. We'll be talking a little bit of U.S. men's soccer because a little shakeup in the management occurred yesterday. And we might be looking a little bit at NCAA as well, as we have yet another unveiling of the new rankings, the college football playoff rankings there. So we'll be doing that as well, and any and all breaking or up-to-date news as I can find as I record these shows by myself. You know, I'm surfing the web as I do so. So I will do that as well. But that being said, we are going to start with the Monday Night Football game between the Houston Texans and the Oakland Raiders, as I mentioned before. A game in which the Oakland Raiders came back, in a sense, from behind, scoring 14 points in the fourth quarter to win this one 27-20 over the Texans, moving to 8-2 on the year now in absolute sole possession of first place in the AFC West. They did have it, in a sense, via the tiebreaker, having to not yet play. They were tied with Kansas City at 7-2. Kansas City had the head-to-head tiebreaker, but they did lose this weekend. So the Raiders now absolutely in first place there in the second seed in the AFC. Houston, they should still be in first place in their division, in a sense, by one full game over Indianapolis, who plays on Thursday against the Steelers on Thanksgiving, the night game. So one full game of a lead there still. But the Raiders, 8-2, Kansas City and Denver both tied at 7-3. They don't have a hold on this division by any means, but they definitely have obviously the lead in their best 10-game start since 2001. Very impressive, but they started very slow. They, as a team, only rushed for 30 yards, and that's because Latavius Murray eventually put together 33 yards. They had 2 yards from Jalen Richard, but DeAndre Washington, 1 rush for 0 yards. Derek Carr did have 2 for -2, and Jamiz Alawale, 2 for -3. So nothing in the sense of good in that aspect. They were very one-sided, and I think it led to their issues head-on. It was tied 10-10 going into halftime, and they come out of the third quarter heading into the fourth quarter. They are down 17-13, and they did make up time, in a sense. Derek Carr, who did have he did struggle his first half. He ended up with 295 yards and 3 scores. He did have 1 interception. It turned out to be inconsequential in a sense. Brock Osweiler didn't have too bad of a day, as a matter of fact. 243 yards and a score, as well as an interception. A couple sacks there on his stat line for him. You know, anything's a little better than last time he played the Raiders, and he was sacked quite a lot. So at least that's a little nice. He was sacked by Bruce Irvin one time, and of course Khalil Mack made sure he came in there and said, "Hello, do you remember me? I sacked you 5 times last time we played you." Now, they actually had a pretty good running day. 124 yards as a team, 104 from Lamar Miller. He had a touchdown as well. He was playing very well on the day. Brock Osweiler even joined the party a bit, 2 for 19 there. Not much else in terms of the running numbers for them. Leading receivers for both of these games, C.J. Fedorowicz had a pretty good day, 6 for 82, but the lone touchdown that was thrown by Mr. Brock Osweiler did go to rookie Braxton Miller out of Ohio State. He ended the day with 5 receptions for 25 yards. He added a rush for a yard, but it kind of a play that blew up a little bit. For the Raiders, Jamiz Alawale had a nice long 75-yard reception for a touchdown, so 3 for 90 and a touchdown for him. Amari Cooper had the go-ahead score. It was a 35-yard catch and run. giving him 457 and that touchdown. And Jalen Richard, the running back, had 3 for 50 and a touchdown, and a long of 29, I believe, on his touchdown as well. Latavius Murray added 59 receptions out of the backfield there, and it was definitely a good chain mover. Those Michael Crabtree fantasy owners, unfortunately, had to sit through a 3 for 5 day, and I am sorry for that. Now we look at, and he had a fumble as well, so, not great. Now we look at this game. There was a lot of wacky things that went on in this game. There was a play that looked like it was going to be a touchdown for the Texans that ended up getting called back for stepping out of bounds, whether he was, whether he wasn't. Crazy. Brock Osweiler's playing the whole time in this game. He's getting a very strong, I don't know where these people were sitting, but man, this is a strong laser pointer. Laser pointer shot in his eyes. Green laser pointer, too. Strong laser pointer. I don't know where they bought this, but I don't imagine they got it at Walmart. You sit there and you look, the amount of times this game was tied. I mean, it was very close. It was very close. I mean, and Mexico City, I'll give them credit. Besides the laser and stuff, they showed the NFL every reason for them. They gave them every reason for them to keep coming back to Mexico City. It's been a little while since, I think, 2005 since the last time the NFL was there. Most of the time, these are preseason games. But excuse me, they showed the NFL a very successful time. They really did. But what was most impressive is what the Texans did to the Raiders. I mean, they're the first team to really make them look beatable in terms of just shutting down the offense. They had been held to 120 yards through 3 quarters with the running game absolutely going nowhere. I mean, there was a point where they had 10 yards rushing total in the third, I believe. And it was good because they never found their way with the running game, but they found signature long plays. You had Amari Cooper's long go-ahead touchdown. You had the Alawale catch and run for 75 that tied it up at 20. And then the go-ahead obviously went 27 for Cooper there. But, it's tough I feel like it's tough for the Texans too, because they did a lot of what they needed to do to win this game. Excuse me. It was impressive to say the least, and for once too, their offense was actually kind of backing up the defense at times. I mean, the defense was playing lights out, yet it was still tied 10-10. I wouldn't say lights out, but I mean they were definitely holding them. And I don't know what that says more about the Raiders or the Texans with the idea that the Raiders were under 100 yards passing and under 15 yards rushing, yet it was a 10-10 game. So that was interesting. And as I mentioned, this arena, they showed nothing but good reasons why to have games here. There were 76,743 people there. Now, the Raiders, I believe, are the 5th most popular team in Mexico. They rated yesterday during the show. The Cowboys are first, and then the Steelers, the Patriots, the Niners, and the Raiders, I believe is what it is. But, I mean, that being said, there were still a lot of fans. And just like the London games, a lot of teams represented in terms of fans as well. But a lot of people there, and it was very loud. Honestly, a very strong showing from the fans in general. Excuse me. Now, one of the close spots in this game, the Texans went for it on 4th down and 2, I believe. Lamar Miller was stopped on 3rd down and 2, short of the first down, and they believe he got it. And then they went for it on 4th down, and they absolutely stopped him with about an inch to go. They replayed it. It was interesting to see where, if the ball crossed, because at first glance it looked like it did. Under further review, they called him down still. It looked like his elbow might have gone down and tried to extend for the ball, extend the ball. So it's interesting in that aspect. But this was a very good game. It really was. And one little fun thing at the end of this game, as they kind of get those weird stats. With his extra point in the second quarter, Oakland's Sebastian Janikowski scored a point in his 3rd country, having previously done so in the United States and the United Kingdom. Joe Nedney is the only other player to score in Mexico, the U.S., and the U.K. 5 other players have scored in Canada and the UK and the US. Those players being Steven Jackson, Robbie Gould, Matt Bryant, Dan Carpenter, and Jay Feely. So a running back and 4 kickers. Pretty cool, though. Nice, fun little stat. I feel like you could kind of tell people, like, oh, I'm the only person to score in the NFL in 3 different countries, being Mexico, the United States, and the UK. So, boom. I feel like I could tell anybody that. It'd be fun. But as I said, the Raiders, they moved 8-2. Houston drops to 6-4. Both still in first place of their division. Now, let's take our first break. We're going to come back, and we are going to talk some U.S. men's national team soccer news that came out yesterday. Unfortunately, right after our soccer show here with Ben ended, as a matter of fact. So just missed that yesterday. But we are going to be talking about that in just a minute here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we are back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, and it's time to talk some soccer news and some U.S. men's national team news. And what is most, honestly, foreseen in a sense, Manager Jürgen Klinsmann has been fired as the manager of the United States men's national team. And this happened yesterday. This was announced on Monday, of course. Klinsmann took charge of the United States men's squad back in 2011. He led them into the knockout stage of the 2014 World Cup. Many remember that. As of now, the press has announced that LA Galaxy's Bruce Arena is going to succeed, Jürgen Klinsmann for the United States job. Now, people remember Bruce Arena actually was the manager of the U.S. men's national team at one point. He managed the U.S. for 8 years, reaching the quarterfinals in the 2002 World Cup in South Korea and in Japan, in the team's best finish since the inaugural event back in 1930. However, though, U.S. soccer president Sunil Gulati did fire him after the U.S. failed to advance to the knockout stage in Germany back in 2006, so 10 years ago now. So he hasn't been the coach there for about 10 years now. He is going to be getting the job now, leaving the LA Galaxy. Most important, I think, that goes into this Jürgen Klinsmann firing, he had disappointing results back-to-back with defeats to Mexico and Costa Rica in World Cup qualifiers this month, and that just proved to be the last straw for them. U.S. Soccer President Sunil Gulati said in a statement he took pride in having the responsibility of steering the program, and there were considerable achievements along the way. We want to thank Jürgen for his hard work and commitment during these last 5 years. He went on to say many were aware of the historic victories, including leading us out of the group of death to the round of 16 in 2014, but there are also lesser publicized efforts behind the scenes. Basically, obviously a lot of things that go into coaching challenges everyone in the United States, soccer community, so on and so forth. But Klinsmann had been under contract through the 2018 World Cup. The U.S. had lost to rival Mexico 2-1 in Columbus, Ohio, last 2 weeks ago now, and they lost 4-0 on an away game to Costa Rica 4 days later, and that was a big, big issue, to say the least, as a matter of fact. The results left the United States at the bottom of the 6-team regional CONCACAF group with 8 games to play. The top 3 teams qualify for the World Cup, while the fourth will enter a 2-legged intercontinental playoff against a team from the Asian Confederation for one of the final spots in Russia. Klinsmann said he was 1,000% certain the U.S. would still qualify, and then he said he was not afraid of the prospect of losing his job. And this was on Sunday, the day before he was fired. I guess it kind of makes that even a little more sudden in that aspect. But Unfortunately, he was fired the next day. Now, with Gulati's statement, he did continue saying, while we remain confident that we have quality players to help us advance to Russia, the form and growth of the team up to this point left us convinced that we need to go in a different direction. It's understandable. A lot of people have been calling for his job for a while now because it's been a little while since 2012, to be honest. We had a struggle in 2014. Obviously, his last year wasn't very great for us. You know, he received praise for leading them through the group of death back in 2014, of course, but they lost to Belgium in extra time in the round of 16. So there's a lot of good that he did, but a lot of people had been calling for his job in more recent months, to be honest. And I mean that's soccer, you know. That's kind of how it happens, you know. It's unfortunate. I did like Jürgen Klinsmann. It'll be interesting to see what Arena does, and when exactly he's going to be taking over for the squad. It's going to be interesting to see, you know, whether that's sooner rather than later. But I'm very interested to see exactly what happens with this because, I don't know, it's interesting as of right now. You know, they're still in the CONCACAF. You know, I don't know if he's going to be taking over or Jürgen's going to finish out the CONCACAF. As far as I saw, there was no news that he'd be finishing it out. So it's very interesting to say the least. As it stands for me, what exactly is going to happen, who's going to take over who, you know, I don't really know what's going on. But needless to say, Jürgen Klinsmann is out the men's national U.S. soccer team. It's too bad. Again, I did like him, but there's only so much you can do. All right, we're going to take our last break here. We're going to come back and we are going to talk some news all over, but I'm going to do my best here real quickly to preview the college football playoff rankings, in which will be coming out later today. I do believe they're going to stay very similar, but I'll give it a shot here in just a minute. So I'll take our last break and be right back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
And we are back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, and it's good time to talk some college football. As it stands, we talked about yesterday, the AP Top 25 as it sits. Not much change other than Louisville dropping. We have Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, Wisconsin, Washington in those top 6 spots. We look at the college football playoff rankings from last week. We had Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, Louisville, Washington, Wisconsin. I'm imagining the top 4 will stay exactly the same as they all won this week. Not big, but all won at least well. Alabama, the only one winning really big, 31-3. Ohio State 17-16 over Michigan State. Michigan 20-10 over Indiana. Leaves a little bit to be wanted there as they head to play one another this weekend. And Clemson beat Wake Forest 35-13. Now Louisville lost, obviously. They lost to Houston big 36-10. Washington defeated Arizona 44-18, and Wisconsin won again over Purdue 49-20. So one would imagine, in my eyes, the top 6 is going to be Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, Washington, Wisconsin. Now, it'll be interesting to see who they flip-flop. You know, Wisconsin, Washington, Wisconsin. Where does Penn State come into this? Do they move ahead of Wisconsin because one of their wins is, against Ohio State, the number 2 team in America? As it stands, you know, are they going to be going about it that way? That's interesting to me to think because Penn State and Oklahoma both have been winning a lot of games, and they've been winning them well. They've been playing well in these games. Are they going to move anywhere near the top 6? You know, Louisville's probably going to drop to 8 or 9. You could say everybody moves up 1 spot in a sense if that's the easy way you want to go with it. But I don't know if it's that easy. You know, you look at, obviously, the top 4, that's solid. It's solidified. It's not changing. It will next week after this weekend when Ohio State and Michigan play, because someone's got to lose that game, obviously. So it will change after that, but that's going to be the big change, and we're going to talk about that next week. Now, as it stands in this one, this is 1 through 4 will be the same. Louisville's out. I think Washington goes to the 6, and then Wisconsin, I don't really know what's going to happen with them and Penn State, because one could move, both could move, and then Louisville could fill that spot, or one could move, Louisville would fall between the two of them maybe. I'm going to say as of right now, though, I'll say Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, Washington, maybe Washington, Penn State, Wisconsin. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see that, honestly, at all. Not really. I mean, with the way Penn State's been playing, I mean, they came off a very convincing win against Rutgers, even though it is Rutgers. They beat them 39-0. They're ranked 8th in the nation in that poll, as it most recently stands. I mean, last week they were ranked 8 in the now they're ranked 8 in the AP poll as well. So national ranking of 8 no matter what, unless they move up this week, I don't think they're dropping. So they're 8 or better until the college football playoff rankings comes out tonight. But they've been playing great ball. I mean, they're 8-2. Obviously, back-to-back wins. Indiana, Rutgers. I can see them moving in there. I mean, they're playing similar teams to Wisconsin, but they have a stronger win in Ohio State. You look at Wisconsin's games, and I mean, yes, they are playing well this year. Other than their very, very close loss to LSU, they have a lot of bigger wins. They did lose to Michigan, obviously. They lost to Ohio State. They did beat Nebraska, who was 7 at the time, so give them that. But they did lose to the number 2 and the 3 teams as it stands right now in Ohio State and Michigan. So I could see Penn State jumping them in the sense of they beat Michigan. Wisconsin's a good team, but their 2 losses are strong losses as well. But Penn State's win against one of them is stronger than one of their losses, I imagine. So at least they have that to look at as well. Now, that is my guess. I'm sticking with that, and we'll see if I'm right tomorrow. I mean, obviously the top 4 can't be wrong. I very much doubt it. Real quick, we're going to cover some college football news that's been out there. Leonard Fournette, of course, is day-to-day with his ankle injury. He did play this weekend, but who knows exactly how well that really went for him when it came down to it. We have Washington's, UW, Washington, not Washington State. Their junior corner, Darren Gardenhire, has left the program. He said he refused to take a university-ordered drug test, which is very interesting to me. I don't know if that's because he had something to hide or what, but he left the program instead of doing that. That's a big game heading into this weekend against number 22, Washington State, 22. That was what they were, I believe, last week in the college football playoff rankings. I believe they fell to 23 in the AP poll, something along that line. And then Texas, obviously, in the ongoing saga with their coach, he has said that Texas hasn't told me I am being fired. Charlie Strong has still been adamant about that. They put him on, it almost seemed like on trial yesterday. But he had a press conference yesterday. He said, I've been told we'll be evaluated at the end of the season, but he's not been told he will be fired. One interesting thing to look at in that aspect is, I mean, many people thought he was going to get fired anyway, but players are behind him. Texas wide receiver Ja'Cory Warwick was very adamant that players will not boycott the game, but some said they very much would. I don't see that happening, nor do I see Charlie Strong allowing that to happen. Strong said the team will show up for TCU, quote, they will not boycott this game. They know this game is about the seniors. That's not going to happen. I don't think he would let it happen as it stands. I mean, not in my opinion. But it's been rumored that he was going to get fired, almost all season. He's 5-6. They're playing for bowl game lives. They get to this win this weekend. They are eligible, and that would be nice for them. But if he is fired, of course, Strong will be owed $10.7 million as a buyout for the remaining 2 years on his contract, a fee that would be reduced if he takes another job. But following their overtime loss to Kansas this week, a team that was 1-9 at the time, and they lost their past 19 Big 12 games. That might have been the final straw for many people in the Texas area who had been calling for his firing for a while. And then that leads us to a lot of who should take over, who should coach here, who should coach there. And that will be obviously looked at. You have guys like Les Miles, who is obviously very much available in that sense. You look at Houston and their college football and their coach over there. He's looking to be a very big. Tom Herman's looking to be a very big candidate for that job. He knows how to recruit in Texas. He's playing he's coaching a very good team in Houston, even though they were ranked high and then dropped, and now they're back up to 18. Herman's going to probably have a good shot, and I would see Texas as a very likely possibility for him. So if that becomes, and when that becomes official, obviously we'll talk about it, but according to Charlie Strong, he has not been told he is being fired, and I'm not surprised. That doesn't seem like the problem over there in Texas. It seems like people are a little, that are, quote unquote, and I'm air quoting here, we are, part of the program here, but a lot of rumor mill, to say the least. So that is it for us today. Of course, I'll be back tomorrow. Ben will be here. Anthony will be here. We'll be talking tonight's college football playoff rankings. We'll be previewing football games on Thursday and this weekend. We will have to do that because we are not here on Thanksgiving or Friday. So we will have to do that. But we'll make sure we get it all done for you. Don't you worry about that. But until then, I'd like to say thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concept Sports Podcast. For Anthony and Ben, I am Alex. We will see you guys tomorrow. You enjoy your sports tonight. And don't go getting into trouble out there. We got sports and Thanksgiving this weekend. So you guys have a good one, and we'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.